Hi guys, and welcome back to another PPTV episode. It's me, Beth, your host, and my guest today is Shaz Nawaz. We haven't had you for a while, Shaz.
It seems like ages, doesn't it?
I know.
It's only been a few weeks, I think 5 or 6 weeks.
But welcome back. Hi.
That's because I enjoy being here. Hi.
It's always a great episode when
Thank you for having me back. Usually I only get invited once. Don't ever want me back again. So
no, we always enjoy
it's
your
good
episodes.
to be back here for the
They're
third
always
or fourth
educational, so I always learn something anyway. So today you've actually brought one of your existing deals with you, haven't you?
I have.
That we're going to run through.
I thought I'd share with the community one of the projects I'm working on to give them a flavour for how we've used tax planning and the huge difference tax can make to a particular deal.
Yeah.
And to also prove to people that I do invest in property and I don't just talk about it, because I think it's important that people walk the talk.
Yeah, I'm very excited. We've already ran through the numbers briefly, but I think people are going to be in for a very good episode. So yeah, start us off wherever you'd like to begin.
Okay, so I purchased a commercial property about 18 months ago for £500,000. It didn't meet the rules for prior approval or permitted development, so we had to pay for the planning. And that process, including the fees for the architect, cost us £65,000. It's going to cost us £400,000 to refurbish, and it's going to cost us just over £50,000 for the bank charges and bank interest to redevelop. We paid the £500,000 to purchase in cash. So that's the background detail. Adding all those numbers together gets us to just over £1 million, £1,017,500. The planning is for 12 flats, 6 one-bedroom flats and 6 two-bedroom flats. The 6 one-bedroom flats are going to sell for £95,000 each, and the 6 two-bedroom flats are going to sell for £125,000 each, which gives us a total GDV of £1.32 million. And the profit on that is £302,000 or £302,500, which isn't too bad.
Yeah.
Which isn't too bad at all. That's a pretty good gain. But I want to share with you some of the things we did in terms of taxation, which really make it a huge game changer. So the first thing was the property had asbestos, and to get that cleared cost us a bomb, a lot of money. The guys came in with all these masks and these white suits. Beth, you won't believe, I thought this was something out of a movie.
Sci-fi movie.
Okay, when I recovered from that, they gave me the bill. Okay, but to keep the story short, we paid for the asbestos to be cleared. There was quite a bit of it.
Yeah.
And then we used something called land remediation relief. So if you have to clear asbestos, Japanese knotweed, or if you have contamination, if you're buying a petrol station or a service garage or something like that, you can claim land remediation relief. So we claimed that, and that enabled us to get £14,250 back. Okay? which kind of relieved the pain.
Yeah. So how much was the total bill for the asbestos before you could claim anything back? If you want to share, you don't have to.
I don't remember the exact number, but it was quite a lot.
Yeah.
Okay? So we've got a 150% back here, so it was quite a lot.
Yeah.
Significant, put it that way. Then the second thing we did, which I think is pretty useful for people to know, because we were applying for planning and the building was empty. So I was approached by a charity from London, and they wanted to use the building to do some work with homeless people and also to work within the community. Okay. Their challenge was they couldn't afford to pay, or in fact their particular model is they can't afford to pay rent.
Right.
Okay. So I said, you can use the building rent free because it's empty anyway. You can use the building rent free, and in return, obviously, you're going to have to look after the costs. The cost being business rates. Yeah. So because they're a charity, they get 80% rates relief anyway, and because they're doing so much great stuff, they were able to speak to the local law authority in Peterborough, and they were able to get the additional 20% discretionary relief. So they ended up paying, or they're still in the building, in fact, they ended up paying the business rates. That saved us to date £10,600, which is significant in itself.
And it's also given back to the community though, isn't it? So
Absolutely.
it's a good cause as well.
That's the main reason why we gave them the building, because it's a big building. But obviously this is a bit of a Brucey bonus.
Yeah.
Okay. You're too young to remember Brucey.
No, my parents say that all the time.
Do they? Okay. So that was a Brucey bonus. What I forgot to share at the start was we bought the property as a partnership. There's 3 of us. And after a while, we decided to incorporate the property portfolio. So the incorporation, just to keep the numbers really easy. So once we obtain the planning, there's an uplift in the value. We then incorporate. When we incorporate, the market value on the day we incorporate is the new purchase price or the base cost in the company, and that saved us £28,500 in tax. Okay, just incorporating that business, because it is a business. On top of that, because it's a commercial property, we claimed capital allowances. I don't remember the exact number, but it was something like £162,000 or thereabouts. The tax saving on that is £23,964 to be precise. Okay, it goes on a bit more. On top of that, we had to pay stamp duty on the purchase, but there was VAT on the purchase, and what we did was use VAT 1614D to say we're converting from a commercial to a residential property.
Okay.
So we didn't have to pay the VAT. What that meant was we only paid the stamp duty on the purchase price. So just to cover, if you buy a property without VAT, you pay the stamp duty on that price. If you buy it with VAT, you pay stamp duty on the VAT element too.
Okay.
So because we had no VAT to pay, they saved the stamp duty on the VAT element, and that saved us £7,500, including the interest we'd have had to pay if we were borrowing the money and any fees to borrow that money. That's £7,500. Then something else which I did, which isn't a tax saving, is that the people who were vacating didn't talk to me about looking for new premises, but I spoke to them and said, what's your intention next? They said, well, we're looking for some new premises for 3 or 4 months just to store everything in here. It was an ex-members club, so they had those big 12-foot snooker tables, 3 or 4 of those, gambling machines. They had a lot of kit, and the rent on our building is £3,500 a month.
Yeah.
And they said, we can't afford to pay £3,500 a month, it's too much, this is why we've not spoken to you. And I said, how about we give you the building for £2,500 rent per month for 3 months? So you save £1,000 per month for 3 months, so you save £3,000. They said, thank you very much, we'll take that. So we got an extra £7,500 by just talking to the vendor and saying, what's your intention, what do you intend to do next? And all of that, plus the last bit, which I love the most, but all of that plus this last bit, okay, saved us £112,000. The last bit is this: if you convert commercial property into residential, you're increasing the number of dwellings. In that case, you pay 5% VAT on the conversion. Okay, if you sell the units, you get to claim the 5% back. If you keep the units, usually you can't claim back the 5% VAT.
Okay.
Because rent is an exempt supply, so you don't charge VAT on the rent when you're renting the property to a tenant. However, if you set up a subsidiary, okay, and grant a lease of longer than 21 years, you can then claim back the 5%. So we're going to claim back the 5% VAT on the £400,000 refurb, which is £20,000. All of those numbers together, Beth, give us £112,314.
That's amazing.
We're not finished yet.
No, there's more.
We're not finished yet. That gives us that. So think about it. The initial profit was £302,500. We're now going to we have an additional saving of £112,314. That's a just over 37% uplift on the profit. That is enormous. It's gigantic, isn't it? Now, because initially we had the property as a partnership, we'd have had to pay tax on the profits of £302,000. I've worked it out here at 40%. I mean, I'm a 45% taxpayer.
Yeah.
So are the other two partners, but I want to kind of keep the numbers in the middle. So if we were paying 40% tax on 302,000, that gives us 121,000. That would leave us 181,000 after paying the tax to reinvest in another deal or to use that money however we choose. But because we moved the project into a limited company, we're going to pay 19% corporation tax on the 302,000, which is 57,000, which leaves us 245,000 pounds to reinvest. So that's an extra 63,000 pounds saving, on moving it to a limited company, plus the 112,000 pounds with all land remediation, business rates, incorporating capital allowances, SDLT, interest fees, the additional rent, plus the VAT on the refurb. That gives us, and on top of that, when we bought the property, we had a bungalow with it as well, which is worth 135,000 pounds. And once the whole thing's ready, we're going to sell the bungalow. So in total, we're going to make just over £500,000, 556,000 pounds. Even if we take out the bungalow, it's 310,000 pounds or thereabouts. 420,000.
Okay.
420,000 pounds is massive, isn't it? Massive.
That's just amazing. Like all those things that you were just listing, which seem common sense, but most people, if you don't know that, you wouldn't go ahead and do all these things that can save you all that money along the way.
It's people miss out. So how many people don't know about land remediation relief? How many people pay to have Japanese knotweed cleared or to have asbestos cleared? Asbestos is quite common. Yeah. How many people buy a commercial property, and people who've tuned in, thank you for tuning in, but if you Google how many people claim capital allowances or how many people miss out, you'll see a very small percentage of people are actually claiming capital allowances on commercial property because they don't know. And usually they instruct a solicitor, he or she doesn't know, and their accountant may or may not know. So it gets missed. The good thing is you can go back and still make a claim.
Oh, can you?
However, the catch is this: as long as when you sign the contract to purchase the property, that there are certain clauses in there which don't restrict you.
Right.
So the best thing is to use a capital allowances specialist or to speak to someone like myself, and we can share with you how to do that. And if you do that before they exchange and complete, they'll be okay. If they don't, but the contract leaves it open, then we can still go back. If the contract doesn't leave it open, then unfortunately they can't make that claim. So it's important to get people involved. But even with the 5% VAT, incorporation, even the business rates, the savings are hefty on their own. The smallest one here is £7,500. The biggest one is 28,500. But in total, altogether, they add up to 112 plus the £63,000 after we've incorporated. So it's a big chunk of change, isn't it? It's massive. It's a game changer. And people miss out on some of these things on a regular basis. How do I know? Because when they speak to me subsequently about a deal and mention, oh, I paid for asbestos, did you claim this? No. Or you bought a commercial property, did you claim capital allowances? No. It's people don't know. It's not their fault, by the way. They just don't know. So they have to ensure that they are working with somebody who knows what they're doing to capitalise and maximise on every single thing. And Mark Holm is one of the guys who's very good at maximising every single thing. And at the end, when you look at the differential in terms of the additional money he's made by ensuring he's claimed all the different rates, reliefs, exemptions, it's a game changer. It's massive.
Well, it's like the amount that this has given you to reinvest as well. Like that is money that you did not have just by doing all these simple little things along the way. Yeah. And you've got all that pot of money now sat there.
And if we didn't do these things, like you said, we'd have less to invest, and if you don't use them, you lose them. So why would anybody want to lose them? Why would you not want to ensure that you make the claim for everything that's yours?
Definitely.
But just to add, none of this is racy-pacey stuff. There's no tax avoidance here. None of that stuff. This is just simple, plain, vanilla tax planning, which is the kind of stuff you and I and Progressive like. It's just real simple stuff that people miss out on a regular basis.
So if anyone watching now isn't sure about all the things that they could start to claim for, anything they've missed out on, what would your advice be to them? What kind of person should they go and speak to, or can they do it on their own?
I mean, here, for example, business rates they could do on their own. Okay, getting the additional rent from the previous rent or something they could do on their own. Everything else they have to speak to a specialist. My advice is to always work with a specialist property tax accountant or a specialist tax advisor who specialises in property, by the way, because they will deal with this stuff day in, day out. And even if there's something that they don't deal with on a regular basis, they'll be able to find the answer for you quicker and point you in the right direction. So that's imperative.
Definitely.
It's big, isn't it?
We spoke a bit about incorporation before on one of our other episodes. If anyone's tuning in now who might not have seen that, can you give them a quick summary of what it is? Because I know some people listening might get confused.
Yeah, absolutely. So, generally speaking, the reason why people are looking to incorporate is because of the Section 24 changes with the mortgage interest relief. If they're a higher rate taxpayer, they can only claim the 20% deduction. So people are looking to move, or some people are looking to move their property portfolio from their own name or names, if there's two or more of them, into a limited company, which is part of the reason why they should be doing that. But the main benefit of incorporating is when you move your property portfolio into a limited company, you get an uplift in the base cost of your properties. So what happens is you move your properties from, let's say, a partnership into a limited company. As long as you can demonstrate to HMRC that you have a business, so you work 20 hours or more in that business, you have a portfolio of, say, 7, 8 or more properties, and ideally you aren't using a letting agent, you can then demonstrate you have a property business. And you can look at the Elizabeth Moyne Ramsey case as an example. And if you can satisfy HMRC and demonstrate you have a business, you claim Section 162 incorporation relief, which means you pay no capital gains tax on moving the portfolio from your own names into a limited company. And if you move a partnership into a limited company, you pay no stamp duty. If it's in an individual's name, then you'll have to pay stamp duty. The big catch is you'll have to refinance. Now, there are some experts out there, including barristers, by the way, who I've spoken to, who are saying when you incorporate, you can leave the mortgages in your own name, okay, and have a deed of trust or a declaration of trust. Now, legally, that works. They're right from a legal point of view that's fine because they've shifted the beneficial ownership into a company. However, looking at the current tax regime, I think if HMRC will look into that and challenge it, they would say that this is not a full and proper commercial transaction. And I think they would target that and go for that. And looking at how HMRC have done in the last year or so in terms of taking cases to the tribunal, especially kind of tax avoidance cases, although this isn't tax avoidance as such, HMRC are winning. And I'm finding that to some extent the tribunals tend to favour them more often than not. So the the deed of trust is an option you could pursue. I'm not a fan of it, but if people want to do it legally, it's okay. Will it work? Will it stand the test of a tribunal? I'm not too sure. That's why I don't recommend it. But once they've moved their properties into a limited company, they have an uplift in the base cost, which can be massive depending on how long they've had the properties for and the increase in the value. On top of that, they can claim the full mortgage interest relief. They can then take a small salary, take the rest of the money via dividends. They get £2,000 tax-free for each shareholder. On top of that, there's other things they can do, especially if they loan money to the company, they can charge interest. So they get, if they're a basic rate taxpayer, they get £1,000 worth of tax-free income through the interest earned. If their salary is less than £17,500, they can earn interest that takes them up to £17,500, which can be tax-free, and we'll cover that on the next recording, if you like. Because that's quite detailed. So there's quite a few savings to be had, and of course, in a limited company, that gives you limited liability, and that gives you allows you to plan for some additional tax planning, which is really good, especially looking at inheritance tax planning. So there's quite a few opportunities there. The downfall is you'll have to pay for valuation fees, arrangement fees, legal fees, and then you might have to pay a higher rate of interest depending on what kind of a deal you get from a third-party lender or a bank. So, but if you have a large enough portfolio, you might be okay with that too. So incorporating is worth it. However, I would say think about it, do the numbers to make sure it works for you. I'm finding too many people, Beth, are jumping into incorporating when they don't need to.
Yeah.
And especially if you've got losses, you can't carry those losses forward into a limited company. So utilize your losses first and then do the calculations and see if it works for you. Don't just look at incorporating because everybody around you is doing it. It might not work for you. Yeah.
Make sure that it works specifically for you, not just because everyone in your circle is doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I had a guy and he spent £30,000 on some tax planning, and the benefit to him was £5,000. So I said, you paid £30,000 to get a £5,000 benefit, so you're £25,000 worse off. I'm serious, honestly. And he said, well, no one made it clear to me.
Yeah.
Okay, and I find that really annoying and frustrating. And I don't know all the facts about his particular case. He was just sharing his story with me. But if that is the case, people need to go in with their eyes open to make sure that they are getting the savings that they think they're going to get, and that the fees they are paying, okay, are not going to outweigh the savings. So the savings have to be higher.
Well, that's why we like to get someone in like yourself who can run through examples, your own experiences that you've had with other clients, customers, and your own properties as well, like you're sharing today with like all the savings that you've made just from simple little tips along the way.
Absolutely, and it's important to not miss out the basic stuff. Sometimes people think the real basic easy stuff doesn't save you much tax.
It does.
Look at the example here. Okay, and there's other examples from Mark Homer and others and our clients where we do this on a regular basis, and it's massive because if you think about this, the whole thing with this additional 112 plus the 63, okay, is 180,000. What I can now do is go into the property market, look at a particular deal, look at all these things, okay, and understand asbestos, this, that, the other, all these costs, add them in there, and then say, you know what, I can afford to pay £50,000 extra, for example, for this particular property. Okay, and if I'm paying £50,000 extra, it's likely I'll probably get the property. So take 50,000 off the 180 or thousand initial savings. Okay, I'm still 130 grand better off, and I've secured the property. So I've now got more buying power than most of the people, and that's where the real benefit is here. Because
most people would be put off a property like that, wouldn't they? They'd see it and be like, nope, not for me. Whereas actually, if you know what you're doing and you know what you can claim for, it becomes much more appealing. Yeah, and you can afford to pay more for it because that the back end margin is higher. Even if you paid another 100,000 for this, okay, we'd still save the additional £80,000, so we're still better off. Okay. Yeah. So I know people sometimes think about, okay, how can I pay less for a property, but look at the margins. If the numbers work, the margins work, you've got the different tax reliefs that you can use, and it's a good deal. I'd say go for it. Of course, negotiate and try and get the best deal possible, but the better the property and the better the location, generally speaking, the more the demand, okay? And if there's lots of demand for it, somebody's going to pay the asking price. If that's the case, you can go over the asking price and still make profit. I think that's a really nice way of looking at it, because most people are all about the below market value. As soon as it goes above like asking price or anywhere near that, they immediately no longer interested, move on to the next one. But this is a really good way of looking at it, of just know all your options.
Absolutely, yeah. Because I mean, and the one thing that I learned from the super conference, well, I say learned, it was a good reminder from Grant Cardone. He said overpay for your deals. And he shared his own examples of the properties that he's paid the most for, okay, are the ones that have given him the best return. And another example is Disney. So Disney pay a hell of a lot of money, Beth, okay, when they're buying characters. Okay, from other companies, okay, and then they bring that character into their own fold, be it Batman, Spider-Man, whomever, okay, and they'll pay over the odds. But then once they've got that character with all the movies and the theme park and everything else that they do, they end up making a lot of money. And if you study Disney closely, you'll see the characters that they've paid the most for, overpaid, are the ones that they've made the most money on.
Guess it's that long-term investment mindset, isn't it?
Yeah. And when you pay a bit more, okay, you're likely to pay more attention to make it work. Yeah. And because you're going to make it work, and you're going to work harder, and you're going to make sure you get all the different reliefs, it's worth paying that bit extra, isn't it?
Definitely.
And I'm not saying pay extra for properties, by the way.
No.
I'm just saying, as an example, it gives you more buying power.
Yeah. And like you said, like if it's a property that you really want, maybe there's a few flaws with it, you're a better prepared investor, I guess. Like you've got your eyes open and you can see all the possibilities with that specific property.
And when everybody's, like you say, when everybody's chasing below market value, if you're on the other side and willing to pay a bit extra because you've done the numbers beforehand, okay, you're going to be quite unique, aren't you? Mm-hmm. Therefore, you're going to get the best and the better deals. And then you can pick and choose because you're willing to pay a bit extra.
Definitely, and a buyer's more likely to go for that person, aren't they? So it's an interesting concept and a different way of thinking about deals when, like I said, everyone is looking for below market value.
Yeah. So that's this particular deal here.
I think that's great, and I think it's been really helpful, like running through some actual numbers from a real life deal that you've done yourself. Like this is still properties that you have, isn't it? You've not sold anything yet, have you?
No. This is there was a bungalow with it which is worth 135, so we'll sell that. So I just wanted to kind of share the example of the additional cash flow. But you and I perhaps should do a Facebook Live when the whole thing's ready, and
definitely
I can show you around it so people can see the property in flesh.
Again, I think that will be a really nice follow-up to all the numbers that you shared today, and just give people a more of an overview of the whole deal and like where, because I'm sure you've got photos of where it started as well.
I have.
So we can do a really nice comparison then.
That would be good.
I'm looking forward to that.
Super.
So, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. We're going to get Shaz in every month. You have a monthly slot with us on PPTV.
I do, and I'm pleased for that. Thank you.
So, whenever you guys do have any questions, you can feel free to pop them in the comments, message them to myself or to Shaz, and we'll make sure that we cover them either as a whole episode or we'll do a mixture of lots of questions if they're along the similar lines. But that's it from us today, which I think has been really interesting, and I always love to look at the numbers.
Thank you very much for tuning in.
But that's great, guys. So that's it from us today. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, any more questions, pop them in the comments and we'll do our best to answer them for you. But that's it then, guys. Bye.
Bye. Take care. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, click the subscribe button and also the notification bell. And please share with us the type of content you would like us to share, because we're here to serve you. And also, if you have any questions about the content, post it in the comments box below, and I'll be happy to answer any questions for you.